Well, here with us is Amanda Ray. She is here to talk with us about her life and all that she's been getting into. She's been into mushroom therapy to cosmic soul searching and
Yeah.
other things. So, yeah, I want you to tell us about yourself and where you grew up.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay, my name is Amanda Ray. So on TikTok and Instagram, I'm at Cosmic Soul underscore guide. So, as we kind of talked about before this, I am into lots of things because I couldn't just pick one. So, I am a psychedelic integration coach, which essentially just means that I assist people after psychedelic experiences be able to make the changes in their lives necessary and actually get like the most from these medicine journeys. So I also run a free virtual support group on Wednesday nights called Soul Recovery. And then, so on top of the coaching, I also am a breathwork instructor. I do personalized breathwork journeys. But my favorite thing has to be my Evoke Divinity retreats because I am also a medicine woman. I do host retreats that are 4 days long, like super transformational medicine breath work, and QHHT, which is past life regression hypnosis. So those have just been incredible.
Oh, holy
Mhm.
cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I stay
You're,
busy.
yeah, you're into a lot of stuff. You want
Lots
to
of
talk
stuff.
about talk about that duckling you killed in the name of the Dark Lord?
Oh God.
No,
Of course, we got to talk about the saddest story ever
no,
told again.
no, we have to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the virtual art meditation and sound bath that I found on your link tree. Sounds very interesting.
Yeah. So one aspect of soul recovery, like I said, the support group that I run is we are really interested in helping other artists and spiritual entrepreneurs, or even if you don't have your own business, like you've got gifts that you want to share and it can be really scary to start, right? So we do something monthly called a member spotlight, where we feature one of our members and they kind of, like in this case, it is our member True and then her partner Brendan, and he's doing a sound bath while she's guiding us through like an art meditation. You, whether you're painting or you just have pencil and paper, it doesn't really matter. She's like guiding you on like flowing with the music and the art and just kind of like letting go. So that is this month's spotlight. We've done spotlights before with other breathwork practitioners. My friend Jess is a really amazing channel and medium, so she'll be probably featured next. So yeah, so that's just something fun that we do to be able to help like get the word out there for other people. So I market it and like fill the event so people don't have to worry about that. And then yeah, and then like people get to share their gifts. It's kind of like a showcase.
Let's stick with the art meditation for a second.
Totally.
I can imagine, but tell me more about it. What is
You
art
know,
meditation?
yeah, so I have not participated in one of True's art meditations yet. Again, essentially kind of like, again, whether your medium is painting or you only have a piece of paper or pencil, it's going to be like a guided meditation in terms of like finding your flow, right? And being able to like let go. A lot of people have like artistic and creative blocks, and I call it perfectionist therapy, where you do something. Art is fabulous for this, where you do something that you're not even particularly that good at, just to like not be good at something, right? Like rather than just like getting all stuck in your head, it's like just reminding yourself that like sometimes it's fun to do things just to do it. Like you don't have to be the best at it. You don't have to be an expert. And like everybody starts off as a beginner. So it really is just a guided meditation to help people through that process.
Mm-hmm. Sounds very
Oh,
interesting. Maybe we should,
Yeah.
yeah, Dustin. We should try that, Dustin.
you should. It says say
Yeah.
you do drawing with your chalk. Is it chalk that you use or what
Charcoal.
is that?
Yeah, I do
Charcoal. Yeah.
charcoal drawings like portraits.
I love that. Those ones are
Yes.
tricky too because the charcoal can get smeary, but I love because I like am a like a sketch artist. Like I can draw people really well and stuff, but when it comes to like painting, that's been, like I said, it's been like a practice, like a perfectionism retraining, right? Because like painting, especially when you've got like the layered components of it, you're like painting, you're like, oh my God, what, this doesn't even look like anything. Like, what the hell is this? And then you just got to keep pushing through it and keep going. And by the end, when you're adding little details, you're like, huh, okay, that turned out all right. I just had to like keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a construction worker. You should see the dicks that
Oh,
I draw on the walls.
a million, a million percent.
Yeah.
Gotta sneak those in so then when people like remodel, they get like a little surprise.
Yeah.
The
Awesome.
glory holes.
Glory holes.
Yeah, right?
Oh, going the wrong direction now. Okay, but let's talk about another thing that I found in your link tree, which sounds very interesting. Another workshop. It's the inner child healing workshop. Also
Oh
sounds very interesting.
yes. Yeah, so we just did that one and we'll have more coming up because all of our workshops, what we do then is we break them down into courses and we put them on our learning library. So that'll be available again for people to have just like their own, personal guided and paced course. So the inner child healing workshop was all and is all about really understanding and exploring all of the wounded inner child archetypes, which we typically have many and we can move throughout them. And really kind of going over just like the universal wounded child wounds, like just based on how we have collectively been made to believe, like rearing and raising children, just from things like let an infant cry so it doesn't think it can get attention from you that way, right? Like not being able to realize like this human just like step foot on this planet has no idea about anything. Like it's not trying to get your attention. It's trying to be like, I need something or I'm afraid, or you have really strong emotions as a child, right? And what happens is like you get put in a timeout or you get separated, right? And so that's like sending the message to the child, like when you have intense emotions, you don't belong. You are no longer like loved or valued, right? And so these different ways that we've collectively created these beliefs about ourselves and perceptions of our reality based on these wounds. And when you can kind of really get to know your wounded self, then when that voice is talking to you, you see it differently, right? Like that voice of doubt doesn't become this like big monster that you're running from. It's like this little child that's like asking for help. So we talk about the different archetypes and then just a bunch of different ways for you to activate the magical inner child and really kind of move yourself back into a space of seeing life through like the eyes of curiosity and wonder rather than just like worry and fear all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Great
very
way to
interesting.
put that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we do workshops every month too. So we have a monthly spotlight. And like I said, in monthly spotlight, I said it depends on members that want to share, right? If we don't have anybody that like has anything they want to share, then we might kind of mix it up. But we do monthly workshops. Our next one is going to be an energy healing 101 workshop in August.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking
Awesome.
talking about releasing the inner child, I just recently came to the conclusion that when I was, let's put it this way, when I was a child, I did a lot of strange stuff like strange noises or strange movements, and I can see it with my own child. The children, they sometimes do strange stuff and strange movements, and yeah, just like Amanda does the whole time. Like,
Yeah. The whole time.
a lot of moving and stuff,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
but children know how to deal with the energy, and we as parents, we come
Yeah.
and say stop doing this and stop doing that, and then they become
Yes.
and then they become even more strange because they have
Yeah.
to hold in
It's
all
true.
that energy, and they know how to release it as children. But we see it and we say, oh, that's strange, don't behave, that's strange, you have to stop, scream and make those noises and stuff. I find that very strange now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Yeah, especially when you have kids, I think that's when you really get to
Yeah.
see that 'cause that's so true, like we've got these social norms and like what we consider like, rude versus polite or whatever the thing is. And, like you said, the child innately knows how to expel the energy, from themselves. And then we wonder why kids have behavioral issues. It's like, well, you're telling them to stop doing the thing that's relieving this energy or this exact or whatever the thing is. And then, like you said, then they bottle it up and then it comes out in destructive ways.
Yeah.
One of my kids a few years ago, we were at a family celebration, and she sat there and she did some strange stuff with her face. She was like,
Yeah.
acting like a crack addict. I don't know, and
Yeah.
and we said, stop. People are watching already, and people are observing what you do. And then in the evening, she felt like a little bit depressed, and she was in a bad mood. And then I figured out maybe that was her way to release her bad energy, and we did not allow her to do that, and now she's depressed.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah, that's very astute. That's absolutely what it, especially when you're a child like myself who like, and I've always really had this mechanism where it's like I can't not be who I am. And so not only do I not understand like why something is inappropriate to somebody, and I also don't understand why somebody would get offended by certain things. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's really difficult to offend me and I don't take stuff personally. And so, when you'd get told to change something, but you like couldn't, you know what I mean? So then it becomes like this belief that you don't belong or you're not good enough or whatever it is, especially if it's something that is consistently pointed out to you, and then like I said, and maybe someday you're able to shift it into something else, but then it's going to be some other bad habit or whatever it is. And it's so silly when people are like, they're looking at us. It's like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
let them
Yeah.
look at us, it's like, well, cool, we're being interesting.
Yeah. Now that I'm an adult and I'm grown up, I realized that everything you experience as a child until you're grown up also, everybody is telling you what to do and they're preparing you for the work life and to pay your bills and pay your debts. And it starts in the kindergarten, sit straight, do this, do that. And then you're going to school and they prepare you to believe in this and to believe that. You have, I don't know, physics, I don't know, science. Everybody tells you what you have to believe.
Yep.
So you cannot create your own beliefs. I find that very strange. And I just realized it a few years ago because I was in this wheel. I was also in this wheel and I didn't notice. Yeah. Crazy world to live in. Crazy world.
It really is so strange. And especially when you're able to see it, when you take that step back and you're like, why are we doing this? And that's why like the inner child healing is probably the most important aspect to healing in terms of being able to live a life that feels more magical and free. Is like, first we have to completely undo all of those like beliefs and conditions and programs that were put into us, and that is a lifelong journey and takes time, right? There's no like finish line. It's not anything like that. But and especially those of us with that magical inner child, when we begin doing this work, end up feeling so vindicated because like I remember in school being like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like I always say, I didn't wake up. I was able to have language to describe what I was experiencing and what was happening. Like I remember having like existential crises at like 5 because I like wasn't sure if I like wasn't real or like if they weren't real, or like, do I live on the opposite side of a mirror? Like, and so I saw like, this doesn't make any sense, but of course you got to like get in line with the program. So of course, then all into my, early, teenage years and early adult years, I was like crazy suicidal and depressed. I was addicted to heroin. And that was, of course, a part of my path to being a psychedelic integration coach, and all very necessary, you know what I mean? But like, of course, I took all that and was like, well, I have to be wrong, right? If everybody else is saying this is what it is, but I don't see that at all, I must be wrong or broken, right? And just being able to, especially like, with psychedelic medicines and just different practices, just keep on vindicating that inner child that I had that was like, this doesn't make sense. And then now I get to meet other people that are like, this doesn't make sense. And you're like, yes, finally.
Yeah, finally. Yeah,
Finally.
some people never wake up. I talk to my colleagues from work now and then, and they already think I'm strange. So why shouldn't I ask these crazy questions? And I said, are you happy with your life? Are you happy with your life? What you doing all day long? And he said, I'm going to work, and then I go home, take a shower, watch a little bit TV, and then go to bed, and then I wake up the next day and go to work. And I said, this is your life? Yeah, I'm going on holidays 3 weeks a year, and
Yeah.
that's not the life I want for myself. There's so much you can do in your life and with your life and with yourself besides work, but some people seem to love it. I don't.
Yeah. Well, isn't that interesting? Because it's like, it is the people that that's enough for. Like, you know what I mean? For some people, that really is just like enough. And I will say, like, if I'm being honest, on some level, there is a part of me that envies that. You know what I mean? That like they can just be content with that. Where like I have this visceral pull to something more and to learning and exploring, and like no matter what that looks like for me, I like can't not do it. Again, I like could never not be myself or even like try to fit in, you know. Well, I mean, I'm sure I did. I tried, you know, that didn't work. um you know, so it's like on some level I'm envious of that, but but mostly I'm just fascinated by it, which has helped me so much to deal with and be around people who are, you know, quote unquote not awake or still asleep or not really yeah, as aware of their own spiritual journey, right? It's like we're all on a spiritual journey, but some people just aren't as aware like that that's what it is. And so they're so fascinating to me that now it's not like I don't have to change anybody's mind. I don't need to, you know what I mean? Like I don't get offended and I don't have to judge them and be like freaking idiots, you know? Like I'm like amazed. Like you said, I just like ask them questions like, so are you happy, you know, are you happy with your life, or whatever the thing is, to get them thinking so then they come to those conclusions on their own.
Yeah.
Sure.
You said something interesting. You said learning and exploring, and this is what they don't want. They are not interested. I showed them my podcast projects. I have this German podcast project also, not only this, and do the same in German too. And I showed them some topics, and he just looked at me and he smirked and he said, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys are crazy. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, some people are terrified of things that they don't
Yeah.
know, and then that creates a block and they're like I have no desire. We're like and we talked about this before we got on too, like chasing your fears, right? Like I said, everything that like scared me when I was little now ended up being something that was meant for me, you know. So that was a huge part of my process too, was rather than just chasing pleasure all the time, I was like I want to chase the things that scare me and like face off with those, because that's a challenge.
Yes, the process of expanding your consciousness means that you have to step out your comfort zone, and most of the people don't like to do that. That's
Oh, 1,000,000%, a
yeah.
1,000,000%. And really accepting that was a struggle for my inner teenager as well. So I can understand why for some people they're just not having it, you know? Like I definitely pendulum swings, you know, back and forth, and I did go through a period of growth where it was all about chasing my desires and all about chasing the things that I told myself I, you know, couldn't have, or things that, you know, were taboo or whatever the thing was, and that was very beneficial for me in like choosing myself. But then the pendulum swung in the opposite direction, and then I had to realize that the things at this period that are going to be beneficial to me are going to be the things that I don't want to do at first. They're going to be the things that make me feel uncomfortable. They're going to be the things that might be a challenge, and like my inner teenager was like pissed about that, you know what I mean? Like so it was a process in and of itself to get myself, you know, better at taking those more uncomfortable actions, but it shifts things so fast when you do start to and just accept that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
gonna say, yeah, let's talk about more about the psychedelic mushrooms, because I've been dabbling with those this summer, and I absolutely love it. I've been microdosing and I've been, you know, getting down, and yeah, no, what goes with the therapy with you with these patients?
Yeah, fabulous question. So,
Yeah,
I typically work on more of a microdose level. I mean, I've said it before, like, mushrooms are like my spirit animal. Like, even when I do energy healing sessions, like when Amanda steps out of the way to let spirit through, like I go to the mushroom kingdom. I like, oh, I'm a little mushroom. Um, and so I love mushrooms at all capacity, right? Not just even like the psychedelic ones and like lion's mane chocolate. So, but I mostly, like I said, work with microdosing. I definitely, we have to be coaching together, right? Like I'm not a drug dealer, quote unquote.
right.
So you know, so it's like one of those things where if you're willing to kind of put in the work and meet me halfway, then I'm going to help you get the most out of this experience. I do offer more like intense, deeper trips. Again, I would never send somebody to space without landing gear, you know, especially if I'm not there with them in person, right? So I do offer guided experiences, especially if somebody is a little bit more practiced or is able to have somebody like there to watch them, where I help them set up a whole ritual. But for the most part, it is a microdosing regimen, and then we combine that with breathwork journeying, like EFT tapping, theta energy healing. And again, we just kind of make the most out of those microdoses. So you're not just like, again, like an antidepressant or something, just taking this thing to make you feel better, but then not using that neuroplasticity you're gaining from the mushrooms to actually make habitual changes and to like reprogram yourself. Then you're just using this as a way to feel good for a day, which is beneficial. Sometimes like that alone can be healing for people to begin with, right? But then now, okay, we got to take it a step further.
Yeah. And I just love how that psychedelic mushrooms have been in our culture for millions of years. If since dawn of time. I think that's how our minds even started expanding
I agree.
with getting creative and how to, forage for food or how to do other things or, it's an amazing process. Yeah.
1,000,000%. Yeah. And it's interesting because even like, so the medicine that we work with on my retreats is called Bufo, which is 5-MeO DMT. And, so that is looked at as like a newer substance, but actually all the way back to the Aztecs, they have depictions of like the Bufo toad and the different, so, and I think even in other parts of the world too, like other ancient civilizations. So, and mushrooms were kind of thought that way too in the 70s, like when they resurfaced, right? But it's like these things have been around forever. It's just they're like being rediscovered now when we need them most.
So I had some problems in the past, suffering from depressions and panic attacks and stuff like that. Do you think mushrooms would be a good idea for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially anybody who has pre-existing quote unquote conditions, it is the most beneficial to work with a coach and a guide through that process, right? Because again, then it helps you to you're not just band-aiding, right? Yeah, I mean, again, you will still get benefits because the mushrooms in and of itself, I mean, that's the Wi-Fi of the planet, right? Like you're tapping into like Mother Earth. So that's going to be beneficial, but especially when it comes to being able to like really understand the nature of your own depression and the nature of your own anxiety, which is different for everybody. And especially when you use the neuroplasticity that opens up for you when you're using the mushrooms, it makes it way easier to create habits that are long lasting because it's easier to learn things. Your brain kind of becomes like it was before the age of 5 when you were soaking everything up like a sponge, So if you, especially, like I said, if you're willing to work with somebody that can help teach you other tools and other techniques, because I'm all about having more than one tool in your toolbox. I think that's where we go wrong is we pick a thing, we're like, this works for me. And then that's all we do. Like, let's say it's going to the gym, right? But also now you break your leg. Okay. And so now all of a sudden it's like you are like a ship lost at sea because your thing got taken away from you, So learning other tools and techniques and ways to cope with those intense feelings while using the mushrooms would be the most optimal treatment, I believe.
Okay, that's very interesting. What about DMT? What's your experiences with DMT?
Yeah, love that. So again, I use 5-MeO DMT at our retreats, which is just a more easily synthesized version of DMT. Your brain just absorbs it faster, just making it, far more potent. So what I love about working with this medicine, especially for these retreats, is the length of experience. So especially 5-MeO DMT, this is like going to be the most potent psychedelic on the planet. However, rather than like, like a 6 to 12 hour battling your shadow escapade, it ends up being, about a 20-minute experience. When we do ceremony, I combine it with the personal breathwork release journey. So everybody's ceremony ends up being about an hour and a half because we'll do the breath work, let that like chill for a little bit, and then we'll go into the DMT. And I found that this is the most optimal technique because what you're doing when you do the guided breathwork journey first is it's like meeting the medicine halfway. right? Like you're taking this release of emotions, you're emptying your cup. So when you come to the medicine, it doesn't have to do that for you, right? And so this has helped people to have far more, if you will say, like a good trip, quote unquote. I don't really believe in bad trips, but it's helped people to have a far more soothing, beautiful, peaceful journey and experience. Again, because you're releasing all of the stuff that the medicine doesn't have to. And it is incredibly different for each individual. Like how it shows up for you is very different. But the overall, if I were to summarize the experience or the end result, it is kind of like really meeting and discovering and like opening up to your highest self, your divine self, like the one who is always in charge, while simultaneously fully accepting and embracing your human self and all of your flaws and being perfectly imperfect, because the two can't happen without the other, right? Like lots of people can think that they're super connected to their higher selves, but are judging the shit out of themselves for being a human and the mistakes that they make, and they're judging everybody else. And then it's like, no, then you're probably actually connected to your super ego, not the higher self, right? So we have to fully be able to embrace and accept all of our flaws and imperfections, and in doing so, it's just this overall sense of like, oh my God, everything is perfect. I don't ever have to worry about anything, and just peace that like you carry with you.
Very interesting. What about DMT, the Matrix, and meeting strange entities? Do you have experiences with that too?
Yeah, so the entities that I've met were never on DMT. I know that people meet some DMT entities. I've usually met the most entities sober. And that is always like in a meditative state. And it for sure, so it's like, it'll feel when this happens, like my own DMT was released, because that's the thing is like we're capable of releasing this within ourselves. It's something that flows freely through us. Breath work, we're able to release it. And so I have moments of like spontaneous release. And so it'll feel like like I feel like a small like bubble burst, I guess. And then it's like, and it's always for me too, everything is light. Like when I do DMT, I am in darkness and everything that's coming to me is light. Sometimes like I had Ganesh come to me and she looked like a neon sign, right? Where it's like sometimes I can tell the entity and like who it is. Sometimes they're just a ball of light, like and sometimes, like I said, I can make out figures, but I'm usually in darkness going to light. Now I've talked to people that have it full on feels like they're in a dream, right? Like the reality or wherever they go to looks and feels like it does here, right? And so and I've had some people that don't really see much and it's all in their bodies, like the body is having the experience. And so just like we all have different like spidey senses and different gifts that are more active in us than other people, it's incredibly different every time.
It's crazy. I had an experience, and I never did DMT, to be honest. And after a conference where I was invited as a speaker, I was laying with my buddies in the grass, and it was a beautiful day. I had my eyes closed, and we were chilling a little bit. I was not sleeping, and suddenly, when I had my eyes closed, I saw this strange grid pattern coming from the back of my head. It was in the back of my head, but I had the feeling that I already saw it. It's strange, can't describe it. And it came like this and moved like this, and came into my view, and yeah, got bigger and bigger, and then it disappeared somewhere. And then I saw a strange scenery. I saw a figure with a head that was shaped like the thing you see above me here in the picture. And it had a very thin neck and no chin, just a mouth, strange eyes, and it looked like it was looking out of a window and looking at me like, "What are you doing here?" Right. So it was not happy to see me, but it was not angry, but it was suspicious what I'm about. And my question is, do you think that because it was the first time that ever happened to me and I wasn't prepared for that? And at some point, I opened my eyes because I was a little bit scared of what happened to me. And do you think that my body released some DMT
It absolutely might have at that point. And that's what they're, to study DMT is a really difficult, invasive process, right? Of like a living human being. Where they're starting to hypothesize that it is responsible for more mechanisms in our body than we were even aware of. Obviously, perception being the biggest one. Like we already know that DMT affects our perception. But when you think about the fact that how we perceive things then has a visceral physiological response as well. Like how we experience something is really going to be changed based on our perception. How we perceive our own bodies or our health or whatever the thing is, right? Like and it can really change the way that we see ourselves. So they're starting to realize that it has more effects than we initially thought, and that it's probably like more potent. But that, for me, that's how it always kind of seems like. It's always as I'm like about to fall asleep at nighttime. I became a psychedelic integration coach because these beings visited me and told me that that's what I needed to do, and I was like about to fall asleep. But like you, I've gotten to the point where I can tell now when this is about to happen or going to happen, because I'll have experiences like it started for me very similarly with this, like, deja vu is the best way to put it, but you can't really describe it. Like my friends used to call it me getting abducted, because I'd be like at like an after party or whatever, like with my friends, and suddenly I would start to get deja vu that like wouldn't go away. Like and not only that, I would realize, okay, it's deja vu, but then I would realize myself realizing it's deja vu, and like stuff would start to be like, like, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta go lay down. Like, and I'd lay down and just blast off. Like, I remember one time I was in like a school that I guess could the best be described as like Ender's Game, but I was like learning about like being a human in whatever role. I've like definitely gone to Egypt a few times, but whenever I've gone to Egypt, it's really interesting. Everything looks like it's like Technicolor. It's like I can see more colors than I'm typically able to see in this life, right? I've had like a mantis looking being come. The only time I ever saw something physically manifest in front of me, other than like spotting UFOs in the air, I was in like the backwoods in Oregon. I was working on a farm, like trimming weed, and I went out to the car by myself to get something, and it was like late at night and everybody else is in the house trimming. And like, and it looked almost like in cinema where like kind of teleported, like where it was like light that came down and it like manifested in front of me. And I remember it, I remember the colors. It was like pinkish, purple, and like see-through. It definitely was not humanoid. Like it almost looked like a Pokemon, for crying out loud. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Like, so it was, but and it was kind of like wavy, and like I froze for, I'd say probably 20 minutes solid, like just couldn't move, was absolute just like frozen. And I think even after it disappeared, and of course like time kind of ceased to exist, I didn't really, it was just like, yeah, you can't, like, you, as much as you like want this to happen and like love it, you got to realize like that amount of energy in this experience makes your body be like, what the, like, doesn't even, your nervous system doesn't even know what to do. There's no fight or flight. You're just frozen.
Yeah. I know what you mean by that, because I actually had my UFO sighting myself back in 2012, and I was just frozen. It flew right over my head, and it was a V shaped, like a boomerang, black silhouette, and it had 5 dim lights underneath it, but it was dead silent when it flew over my head. But the fact that it was the dead silent part kind of like threw me the fuck off, because I was ready to hear that big rumbling sound of an airplane, right? And it's just like nothing. I was just like jaw dropped. And I ran back to my girlfriend's house, like, you wouldn't believe what the fuck I saw. And yeah, again, it started my journey, what I'm doing now, obviously studying and collecting UFO photographs, and doing this podcast and meeting awesome people that's in the field and stuff like that. And yeah, to hear that you had an experience like that, and these beings, mantis beings, to like this light appearing in front of you and having this thing manifest. Oh, it's awesome. So I feel like because you're very in tune to this, I think just the energy in general, where like extraterrestrials can definitely pick up on that and easier to contact with. Even you, Daniel, you're there just chilling, and that the portal opened up to another dimension where you saw this alien look through it too. Like, what the fuck? Who is this ugly motherfucker?
Yeah, he was
No,
like,
I mean-
who's this beautiful guy? He was like, awesome looking human being
Yeah.
that is. I understand him. Don't blame
Yeah.
him.
And then Daniel too had an experience seeing a UFO when he was 16, and I'm pretty sure you were shocked and
Yes.
you're bewildered.
I was 16 back then. Yeah, now I'm 43, and I was 16 back then. I saw this triangle-shaped UFO in the sky with a light in the middle. Two of my friends were with me. It was strange. Strange. Yeah, never forgot it. Never.
Yeah, you can't forget that.
No.
Yep.
So we're almost at the end now, but before we wrap it up, tell us more about your Facebook group that I'm not in yet, but maybe I will.
You're joining. Yeah, you're joining. Yeah, thank you for asking. So we've got on Facebook, if you go to Cosmic Soul Recovery, we have a free Facebook group. So it's there where you'll be able to see the Zoom link that is posted every week. Again, our virtual meeting is Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Time, and then we have different days for the workshops. So that gets posted in our Facebook group. You can reach out to me on there or go to www.cosmicsoulrecovery.com and subscribe to our website. We have a really amazing store too. I make these like Jesus mushrooms t-shirts and like different stuff like that because with the proceeds from the t-shirts and our art, we're creating a scholarship fund for people and addicts and just people in need who need these like life-changing medicines, but can't afford them. So so that's how we're raising money for that. Again, we got the workshops, coaching. Our next retreat is going to be August 11th through the 15th. We also have another Evoke Divinity retreat October 6th through the 10th, and then a special New Year's one in the Bahamas.
Wow.
Okay,
You were a busy girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to keep my head spinning a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I will snatch your Linktree link and post it in the info box of this podcast here. So, is there anything else that you want to let the people know before we wrap it up? Yeah, show it.
All right.
It's awesome. Do you have a YouTube channel they can follow you at?
Oh, you know what I do? Thank you for reminding me because I'm working on getting better at that because of the nature of the things that I talk about, I get shadow banned, obviously, like pretty often on TikTok and Instagram. So it's Cosmic Soul _guide on YouTube as well. And that'll also be posted in my link tree. I'm working on doing more educational stuff on the YouTube, which again will also be found in my learning library on my website too. So we've got courses coming out, group workshops, those will be really, really fun because that way we can all like build more community. That's what I'm about too, because we're all people that felt so alone for so long and we just don't need to anymore.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Good people. Let's wrap it up for today. It was crazy cool. I had so much fun today talking to you.
That was awesome.
I hope we will meet again, Amanda.
Oh, we will. Yeah. Thank you guys both so much for having me on.
Great. Please stay with us for 2 more minutes, okay?
Gotcha.